Angélique talked to me about this piece maybe 18 months ago. We had known each other for quite a while in New York. I've known her 10 or 12 years. We've done a little playing together, some concerts, and we've been on programs together, so we knew each other. And when we played together, it was just really piano and her singing, so there wasn't any complicated piece involved. But she proposed the idea of doing some songs for orchestra, which I was very interested in. I've done work with orchestra before with singers, and I knew that she wasn't really had that kind of training, but that she was willing to make that effort. And I thought that was a very good opportunity to bring her kind of voice into the concert hall, and also for the concert hall to have that kind of an artist performing, which would be unusual. I think the real inspiration for the piece itself came from the text, from the words that she had chosen. I didn't actually know what language it would be until I thought it was going to be Swahili, but it turns out to be Yoruba, which is the language of Benin, which is the country she comes from. The interesting thing was that I had, from my visits many times to Brazil, I knew something about that culture, because that Yoruba culture had gone in big time to that part of South America, and the contemplative religion that is followed by the African part of that population it's the same source. So that when I got the text, I recognized right away the people, the gods in the text, because they were familiar from my encounters with them in Brazil. But I didn't know the language at all. There was a French translation which I could read, and I analyzed it in terms of the rhythm and the phrasing. I asked her to read it for me so I could use that as a basis to do an analysis. And with that as the background, I began to set the piece, a vocal piece for her. I had the idea to do a piece, not a simple piece of a voice and accompaniment, but a piece in which the instruments would take turns in playing with her, and doing either duets or doing counter melodies, or sometimes following each other. So I was interested in a texture that was polyphonic, that was complex, and was very melodic. It had to really begin with the vocal parts. So I wrote the vocal parts first and then did the orchestration around them. I knew that it was not vocal music that she would be familiar with, because it's not really based on any kind of indigenous music. It's really based on my knowing her voice, which I knew very well, and knowing what it would sound good with the orchestra. So that it really began with the language and the idea and how this would be. We ended up with 3 pieces, 3 songs, and I probably will add another one. I think I could use one more, but for right now, this is what we've done. It doesn't sound African, it doesn't sound European, it sounds, well, something else. Every society, every tradition has a story about how the world begins. And at the same time, they're very similar, but they're very different. I was very struck by by the last one. The serpent spirit is in the air, and it's the activity of the serpent that begins the activity of the world. But it's a very poetic way of talking about beginnings. I think it's important, we as human beings, we start with a story like that to make some sense of the world, and to put a place in the world, especially very ancient cultures that you find in Africa. So these particular myths are very important in that part of the world. And I can empathize with it because I have seen it in Australia, and I've seen it in Mexico, I've seen it wherever I've been.